You think you're underpaid because of the job market, or maybe because you're not good at negotiating. But your paycheck is actually a mirror that reflects what you believe you're worth. I'm Mizes. I'm a former HR executive at Meta, and I've helped thousands of people rewrite their career story with a new sense of identity. And let me tell you, being underpaid has very little to do with your skills and everything to do with your identity. Because when you believe you're only worth a little, you're going to settle for a little. And most people don't even realize that they're doing it. Have you ever had a moment where you found out that someone that maybe wasn't smarter than you and really wasn't more qualified than you, but they were getting paid more than you for almost the same work? Share your story in the comments below and tell us how you found out. I can't wait to read those. You see, the problem starts when you treat being underpaid as a surface level issue. Maybe your boss doesn't value you, and maybe the company is strapped, or maybe it's just not the right time. These are all the lies that you say to convince yourself that you're not being underpaid. But none of those are the real reason you keep earning less than you should. The truth is far more personal. I've worked with professionals who have Ivy League degrees, 15 years of experience, and performance reviews that read like fan mail, and yet they're underpaid repeatedly, and sometimes for years. It's never because of circumstances. It's always because of conditioning. Many of us have internalized messages from early career roles or maybe even toxic workplaces like, don't ask for too much, or be grateful you have a job, or good things come to those who wait. But what's actually happening is that your brain is protecting you. It's trying to keep you safe from rejection or even disappointment. That protective mechanism then shows up at the negotiation table really as silence or agreeableness, or worse, as self-sabotage. This is why staying underpaid often ties back to deeper beliefs about worth. You don't just think you're lucky to have a job. Instead, you feel like asking for more is risky or even wrong. You might call it humility, but it's actually fear. You're afraid of being told no, and you don't want them to think that you're greedy. You're worried about being fully seen. These are identity wounds, and they silently control how you show up in your career, and they have real financial consequences. Because self-worth and market value are linked, you will only ask for what you believe you deserve. And if you don't believe that you're worth more, then no script, no negotiation tactic, or salary benchmarking is going to help you get paid more. So your mindset is deciding your paycheck, and if you've ever told yourself, this is fine, while secretly knowing that it's not, then it's time to face the root problem. Before you fix your paycheck, you must fix your mindset, and you can only do this with action. So how do you start changing this? Well, the first step is learning to spot the moments when your self-worth really takes a back seat. Because before you can change the pattern, you have to see it clearly. So start by writing down the moments that you hesitate. Hesitation doesn't always look dramatic, right? It's often a split-second pause or a tightening in your chest, or maybe a voice in your head that says, don't do that, or don't say that, or now's not the right time. It's subtle, but it really carries weight. And that small pause is where your self-doubt hides. And over time, those pauses really shape your compensation more than you actually realize. This could be when maybe you don't speak up in meetings, or maybe you downplay your accomplishments, or you avoid negotiating, or you write an email instead of having a hard conversation face-to-face, or you let somebody take credit for your idea, or when you stay quiet even though you know you have the answer. So next, I want you to ask yourself, what belief is hiding underneath that hesitation? There's almost always a quiet story behind that. And it could look something like saying, I don't want to look like I'm going to rock the boat, or I don't want to seem difficult, or even I haven't really earned it yet. These thoughts often feel like facts, but they're not. They're old scripts learned in past jobs or early roles, or from leaders who taught you to stay small. Now here's the thing, the goal isn't to fight them right away. The first step is to spot them, and this alone means that you're already halfway to fixing it. All right, so maybe now you're thinking, all right, AJ, I get it, and maybe I've got some really big head trash, but isn't it actually risky to ask for more? Yeah, it is. And that's precisely why most people don't do it. But staying silent doesn't keep you safe, it only keeps you stuck. So there's a question that I ask almost every client that I coach. Do you know what your peers make? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Not because the data isn't out there, but because they've been conditioned not to ask. The less that we talk about money, the more isolated that we feel in our struggles. And we start thinking our low salary is a personal failing rather than a systemic pattern. This kind of isolation breeds a lot of shame, and shame breeds silence, and silence keeps you exactly where you are. Companies actually count and depend on this type of silence because when nobody talks about money, nobody questions how it's distributed. And that's why you must normalize salary transparency, at least with yourself and the people that you trust. And the data backs this up. One report from PayScale found that employees who believe that they're underpaid are 50% more likely to leave, even if they're not actually underpaid. But when companies openly talk about pay, that feeling of mistrust drops dramatically. You don't need to shout your salary from the rooftops, but you do need to stop treating it like a dirty secret. So talk to the people that you trust. So you should ask, what's the going rate for somebody in our role? The answer that you get to that question can totally change your mindset on compensation. And if you want leverage when you negotiate, then create it. Do a compensation audit. Request market data from recruiters. Go to salary.com. Get an external offer. Not to leave, but to see what you can truly command. Knowledge is power in salary negotiations. It really is your best weapon. But if you want to escape being underpaid for good, you need more than just transparency. You need to become someone that they wouldn't even consider underpaying. So how do you do that? How do you position yourself to get paid more? Well, what you can't do is try to work your way towards it. You can work late, you can stay loyal, you can take on more than your job description without asking for more. But promotions don't go to the most loyal person. They go to the most valuable person. So here's how to increase your value without changing anything. I want you to imagine 3 employees, okay? They do the same role, the same work, and have the same level of talent. And for the sake of this example, I want you to imagine the 3 employees are identical in every single way. Employee 1 says, I built a new client retention system. Employee 2 says, I increased client satisfaction by 12%. But employee 3 says, because of the system I implemented, client retention went up by 12%, resulting in an additional $180,000 in revenue over 6 months. Employee 1 talks about what they did. Employee 2 talks about the direct result of what they did. But employee 3 talks about the end outcome of what they did. When you speak about an end outcome, you shift your perceived value literally overnight. This is called outcome framing. And it's one of the big things that I teach my clients because it's where most of them get stuck. They think personal branding is a really dirty word, and they believe that if they just do great work, someone's going to notice. But that's not how it works anymore. So here's what I want you to do instead. First, update your resume and your LinkedIn to reflect outcomes, not just responsibilities. Did you grow revenue? Did you improve the team retention? Did you streamline onboarding? Did you save people time? Quantify it and then frame it. Second, build external proof. So that means testimonials, recommendations, public case studies, thought leadership, podcast interviews, awards, anything that positions you as a high impact person. And you should do this even for people who don't work inside your department or company. Third, audit your leverage. Are you known outside of your company? Are you active in your industry? Are you on the radar of recruiters or podcast hosts or panels? Companies pay more for visible talent that's perceived as more valuable. And finally, never negotiate from a place of desperation. If you wait until you're ready to quit, you've already lost leverage. The time to position yourself is when things are going really, really well. And that's when you negotiate the highest. If this is starting to sound a little too familiar and you're done being the best kept secret at work, go ahead and tap that subscribe button because I release new videos just like this every week to help you take back control of your career. So now you've done the mindset work, you've normalized transparency, you've reframed your value and built leverage. And it's time to flip the script completely because the people who earn the most don't do this one final thing. Tell me if you've ever done any of these. Waited for your manager to say you've earned it. Or needed a recruiter to validate your salary expectations before moving forward, hesitated to speak up because you were afraid of the attention, or even held off on applying for a role because you weren't 100% qualified on paper. If you've done any of these, or even something that feels close, it means that you're operating inside the permission paradigm, which is a mindset where you subconsciously wait for somebody else to say that you're ready, worthy, or allowed to want more. It's subtle, and you might think that you're being patient or strategic. But what's really happening is that you're outsourcing your self-worth. Instead of claiming value, you're waiting for it to be assigned to you. And as long as you're waiting, you're not leading. High earners are leaders, and leaders don't wait for permission. They decide their worth first, and they force the system to respond. You don't need somebody to tell you that you're ready. You need to believe it, you need to declare it, and you need to take the steps to prove it. Here's how you do this for yourself. First, define your line in the sand. What is the minimum compensation that reflects your value and your lifestyle goals? Name that number, and I want you to write it down and speak it out loud. Second, build your case like a consultant. What results have you delivered? What would your company lose if you walked out tomorrow? And get specific. Use numbers. Connect them to business outcomes that your manager or department would really care about. And then third, shift your internal language. So stop saying things like, I really hope I get this. Start saying, this is what I command, and so let's find the right opportunity to match it. When you decide your worth first, you stop chasing validation and you start getting what you want. Now, if you've been the high performer who still gets lowballed, it's not because you're unworthy. It's because no one's ever given you the career strategy to get paid your worth. I've helped thousands of professionals escape underpaid roles, really secure life-changing offers, and finally feel respected and well compensated. It's my life's work. So if you're tired of waiting for somebody to hand you the career that you deserve, book your free call by tapping the link on your screen or down below in the description box. And I can't wait to talk to you soon.